Hi guys, this is Marcy Fiorillo and welcome to the Humanities 1002 assignment help video for week 1 project 3. As you know, when you log into the home page, there are a couple ways to get to the week 1 content. The first way is to click on the title of this little widget here. You can also push the play button to be taken to the next topic that you have left off at, or you can click on content and find the week over in the left menu to navigate to the week that we are in. So this week is week 1 and we're just getting started. I recommend that you post your autobiography assignment first because that is due the first night of class. But then once you're ready to dive into the material, you need to go to the syllabus to find the reading assignment for the week and the live link to your e-text, which is a Stokestad History of Art text. Once you've done the reading and are ready to begin the assignments, you can click down and read through the online reading assignments, take the knowledge check quiz, and begin work on the discussion. So I've created a starter thread that's going to help you with that, but what I wanted to help you with today is the essay assignment or the project assignment. So at the very bottom of the week 1 material are the directions for your week 1 project. And this week we're going to talk about changes in the human figure in art in the 3 time periods that we're reading about this week: the early Renaissance, the Northern Renaissance, and the Italian Renaissance. So these line up perfectly with the chapters in your text. So once you've read those 3 chapters, then you can come back here and tackle this assignment. So the directions are here and they're pretty clear, but what I've done is I've created a help document for you that will help you answer all these questions thoroughly. So first you're going to read through the directions, and basically you're going to find 3 examples of artworks that have the same medium. Now what that means is they are the same type of artwork. Are they all 3 oil paintings? Are they all 3 marble sculptures, etc.? And so you want them all to be the same type of material used. And you're going to choose one from each of the chapters. It's really recommended that you use your text. Why wouldn't you? It's right there, and you know that you're going to choose appropriate artworks because they're in the chapter that we're reading about, and all the information will be right there for you. While you can do research on the internet, there's really no need to for the most part. So if I were you, I would just stick to the examples in your text and make it easier on yourself. So you'll go into each chapter and you'll choose an artwork. Let's say you're going to do all oil paintings. So you'll go in and choose an oil painting from each of the 3 chapters here, one from the early Renaissance, one from the Northern Renaissance, and one from the Italian Renaissance. Now you can also see that there are dates given here. So if you do go out on your own, make sure that you are choosing both from the right geographical period and also from the right date period. Then you want to identify your artworks. It's always important to fully identify your artworks for each of the examples that you give. And if you would like to include an image, or you can even just include a link to an image of it, that would be great. So I'm actually going to flip over here to the Word document that I created that's going to help you with this assignment. And I do this for all of the written assignments, and I'm going to do videos for each one as well in case you're an audio learner. But basically, you can set up your outline like this. So you're going to select 3 works of art from the chapters, and like I said, they match up perfectly with each of the chapters in your text. And really, you have to think about all these assignments as, what is the goal of the assignment? And I can tell you that the goal for all the assignments is going to be to demonstrate your knowledge of the reading material. So to do that, you must first read the course material. So make sure you're reading the chapter first. And then when you choose examples from the text, you can reference your text. And that's also a great way to demonstrate that you've read the material. Now, I don't want to read your text again, so be sure to put that information into your own words and cite appropriately where you do use the exact words from your source. But I've read your text many times, so what I want to know is what you learned. So make sure you put it into your own words. And what you should be looking for, and what you will find after you read, is that artworks from the early Renaissance are making that transition from the medieval period, which is very abstract, very symbolic, to the more naturalized Renaissance, which we'll see. So in the early Renaissance, we see that attempt happening, that transition happening. You'll still see the figures are a bit stylized, maybe a little bit flat, and elongated from not only the Gothic style, but the Byzantine style, but they're trying to look more natural. So in the Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance, we're going to see those figures start to be more naturalized, even idealistic, because they are inspired by classical antiquity. These artists were rediscovering the ancient cultures of Greece and Rome and modeling their art after those examples. And this will include adding in a three-dimensional perspective, so using linear perspective, modeling, and shadows to give figures depth and a real sense of space. The figures will start acting more human, even if they are divine, and really placing them in a natural setting and even contemporary Italian settings. Now, in the Northern Renaissance, they start to do this as well. However, they hang on to those older traditions a little bit longer. They're actually more interested in textures and almost like a scientific exploration of textures and surfaces and things like that. And so nature and details in the background will actually be a little more naturalized than the figures. So the figures themselves are still a little bit stylized. They still just look a little bit funny, maybe a little bit alien-like as they're stretched out a little bit. But they are working towards those same ideals as the Italian Renaissance. Okay, so each one needs to be in the same medium, which means they all need to be oil paintings, or if you choose sculpture, they all need to be sculpture. And like I said, I really recommend that you choose from your text. And if you are unsure of your choices, send me an email. Tell me which choices you are choosing, and I can give you a yay or a nay on that before you even get started and put all that time into it. Remember, I'm here to help you. So if you are struggling with something, it's better to help me prior to the assignment being due versus telling me afterwards when you get a not so great grade that you didn't understand it. So feel free to reach out to me via email, text, or even giving me a call, and we can go over some of the assignment criteria and what you're struggling with in person. Okay, so you're going to choose one from each chapter of your text, and I give you the actual chapters here. I also give you the dates to let you know exactly what you're working on. And when you choose your artworks, choose something that you like, because if you're interested in it, you might actually do better on the assignment. And then the other thing to keep in mind is to choose artworks that you can easily identify the elements that you want to write about, which we've discussed up here. Choose ones that are easy. Go for the obvious ones. And then part of your assignment is going to be to give 2 historical facts about the artwork. And this is usually something that students struggle with. A historical fact is not the subject matter of the artwork. So, and it's also not, a historical fact is not the subject matter where you're telling me something that Jesus did in the artwork. What a historical fact is something about the artwork itself. So not the subject of the art, of the painting, of the sculpture, but about the artwork. So why is it important? Is it a turning point in the style? Is it the best example of this artist's works? Who is it commissioned by? Find a fact that explains to the reader why this artwork is important in art history and why it would be featured in your textbook, for example. Anything having to do with the patronage of it, or maybe the artist did it, this was their first painting like this, it was a breakthrough in the style. So something along those lines would be a historical fact. And just remember that your choices for your artworks are key to the good paper, because if you write about an inappropriate artwork from a wrong time period or something like that, then that whole section will not receive credit. So again, if you're unsure, give me an email. So you want to have just a brief introduction about why and what your reader is going to be learning. And for each section, you want to name the artworks. You want to give them their full identification information. So that will include the title of the artwork, the title or the name of the artist, you need to include the period or date. So is this early Renaissance, Northern Renaissance, or Italian Renaissance? So I know that you know what the difference is between them. The location or the origin of the painting, and then you definitely want to include the medium and the size and things like that. So if you get your image from the internet, then you can cite your image, or if you want to get your images from the book, you can just tell me what figure number is and things like that. Okay, so then you want to include a thesis statement, which would tell your reader why and what they're going to learn from these examples. So you're going to have 3 examples, and you're going to tell them that you're going to see a transition between the flat and abstracted style of medieval artists to the Renaissance, which is again inspired by classical antiquity. So come up with a thesis statement, because that will actually help you stay on focus for your paper. Then you're going to have 3 sections of your paper, and each section is going to be the same. So you're going to have your first example identified as early Renaissance. You're going to give your historical facts about why the artwork is important. You're going to describe the figures, so the people in the artwork, and what they look like and what we see as a style for early Renaissance in them. So you should be using these vocabulary words that you're using from your text. And again, if you choose examples from your text will describe these artworks in the same fashion as you're supposed to do here. So you should use words like naturalism and modeling and linear perspective and things like that. Each artwork needs to have a chunky paragraph. The assignment directions recommend 12 sentences for each artwork, so not for all 3 total. So each one is going to have a chunky paragraph, and that's a minimum. So if you're succinct, you can get that done in 12 sentences, but if not, you may have to have more. Then you're going to repeat that step for all 3 of the artworks, and be sure to describe the various style characteristics you should be seeing in each one, and I've had them here, and again, they'll be listed in your text. Use your vocabulary that you've learned, and don't forget to include those historical facts. Then in your conclusion, you're going to compare and contrast the 3 artworks. What elements did you see that are the same, and what elements were different? So you're going to use compare and contrast language. This was like this was similar to, in contrast to, things like that. And then demonstrate your knowledge of the 3 styles and how the changes are happening. And be sure to list those influencing factors that shape why the artist depicted the figures in the way they did. Things like humanism and the influence of classical antiquity. We're also going to see scientific discovery happening during this time period that's going to influence especially those northern artists. So once you conclude all that, and you've given your comparison and given some influencing factors, then you're not done. You need to stop, and you need to take a break, and then come back and spell check and proofread your paper. Good ideas can be made great by having a polished paper, so don't forget to do that. I also recommend reading over the rubric both before and after you do the assignment, just to make sure you've checked off everything that you were supposed to be doing and included, because I'm grading by the rubric, so you definitely want to look at that. Especially you want to look at the points value associated with different parts of the rubric. If there's something, a section like the conclusion, that's worth half the points of the whole paper, then obviously you want to give a lot of attention to that section. So review your rubric carefully. Then at the bottom, I have just some tips that I usually send out upon grading that might help you, so be sure to check that out. This document will be located in the announcement that I'll send out before the assignment is due, so be sure to check that out and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.